Ryan McCaffrey with IGN, joined by Lee Petty from Double Fine Productions. We're looking at this is RAD. You've got a new game called RAD.
We did that on purpose. So I can always say the game is rad.
So Lee, elevator pitch version. I'm looking at a top-down action sort of adventure game here. What's the hook?
So this is a game set in a world that's been hit with not one but two apocalyptic incidents, and so you're playing this sort of third age of man, of humankind, and you are exploring the wasteland in order to try and find power for your town. But the trick is, you've been altered, so you absorb the toxins or the RADs. That's the name, RAD. And when you do so, you randomly mutate. So the player gets a random mutation that they have to kind of adapt their play style to be able to survive by using effectively.
I know we're going to see at least one of them here in this. This is the GDC floor demo. For attendees of GDC can come play this. That's why it says floor demo in the upper corner there. But what are some of the examples of some of those mutations you can get?
Yeah, so we kind of have mutations for a lot of different gameplay genres. So you might get a ranged attack, like kind of a direct damage, and we'll see what we have here.
Here we go.
Speaking of which, it's almost like I planned it, which I didn't. So you got firearm, which is throwing fireballs, and
nice.
Some of our mutations are more straightforward to use like this. So they're they have that going for them, and some of them are more like crowd control. Like I think one of the ones that we have in our trailer is these little eggs that you can give birth to, or hatch, I guess maybe.
Yeah, I got that when I played earlier. That was pretty cool. Get these little spiderling helpers.
Yeah, exactly. And they kind of like fight with you and for you, and you kind of use them as distractions or as combatants.
So talk to me about the green trail of lush, seemingly healthy Earth that we're leaving behind everywhere we go here.
Yeah, one of the other ideas in our game is transforming this sort of wasteland into a verdant future world of prosperity, hopefully, And the player's character's body, when they absorb these RADs, not only do they mutate, but they have this sort of background happy growth that goes on. So you see this, most evidenced by this grass trail following the player. And that helps you kind of navigate our world because it is a procedurally generated world, but it's not a room-to-room world. It's a big open world.
Right.
So it kind of helps you know where you've been, and when you run on it, you get a speed boost. So you can kind of cross back over other areas you've been to quicker and maneuver in combat more effectively.
That's cool. It's smart. So it's kind of a navigation thing, but also just sort of an interesting way to have the player affect the world, which I think is pretty neat.
Yeah, there's a lot of just sort of fun player expressivity with like feeling like you're growing things, and I'm sure you could probably draw stuff in the grass if you want. But we have this sort of big external world for you to explore, but we also have these kind of hidden interiors in some cases. So he used one of his keys, which are floppy disks in our game.
Of course.
Yeah. And found this kind of hidden bomb shelter, and is just a loot cave.
So it seems like the aesthetic of the game, the sort of tone of it is sort of almost like a future 80s, since you mentioned the dual apocalypses, one of which was in the 80s.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think our take on the apocalypse wasn't the sort of like desaturated one where factions of humanity are killing each other over resources. What we really wanted was more of a natural disaster take, where this kind of strange, surreal world with a couple layers of civilization is there for you to explore and find these mysteries and hopefully eventually heal. We have your player character becoming something less human as you play, since you can continue to mutate, but the world itself is becoming a more verdant place, and that kind of themes of sacrifice and transformation and the kind of weird visuals associated with it are some of the stuff that really inspired us.
Very cool. All right, so what are we triggered one sort of funky monolith purple light thing. What's our current sort of objective here?
Yeah, so when you go to any of our levels, your higher level narrative goal is to find power for this town that you belong to. You have this kind of persistent town that you're a member of, and to do that, you get teleported to random parts of the world, but they're all cleaved apart. So you have to unlock these teleport gates that were created by the second civilization called the Menders. And one of the ways you do that is you find these sort of totems, these machines, and you can activate them. And when you activate them, they send power to these gates that you can then use to kind of make your way through the world. So right now, you can see in the upper right, it indicates we found one of two of these things. So we're looking for another one somewhere in the world.
Now it's it's a roguelike. The game procedurally generates it changes every time, including if you die, you come back as another random teenager, you were telling me?
Yes. Yeah, so there is this kind of interesting tension here between, it's not the Hunger Games, like the teens actually volunteer for this, but there is this backdrop of like, wait, who messed this world up enough that the solution is to send our teens out into the wasteland to kind of fix the problem? But it is that intersection of kind of like 80s aesthetics where it's like the protagonist is an underdog teen. Also with the fact that who's gonna fix this world? In the roguelike, it's about going from zero to hero, right? You start off with no powers and you gain them, and this kind of worked together well for us, I think.
I like you got some shopkeepers here, and is there any sort of like hub town element to things?
Yeah, you do start off in a persistent town, and from there there's characters that will sort of change their dialogue as the story slowly unfolds, and you can upgrade the shops, and you can add banking functionality, and all sorts of other persistent things that you can use in future runs. And you can return to that between each of these procedural levels if you want. So if we finish this level alive, we can just go to the next one.
Okay.
Or we could go back to town and make some choices there, like swap our bats out if we've unlocked them, or bank some currency, or just see how the story's unfolding. All the people in our game, we've written thousands of lines of dialogue. They're just about them reacting to your changing physical appearance with these mutations. So sometimes that tells as much of a story as the story itself.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to just pause it real quick, get that zoom in look at our character, like the bat and the just like a normal teenager, but with a flaming arm.
Flaming arm. Yeah, like high fives are totally out of the question right now. But yeah, you
that
can
karate
see.
Kick.
Yeah, we let you kind of pause the game wherever and do this little view. So it's
Nice.
kind of acts as our if you kind of pause it in the middle of combat or mutation, you get all these weird visuals that you might not otherwise notice.
I like the sort of scan line effect. The 80s cathode ray tube CRT television kind of thing going on.
We
too.
have an inordinate amount of CRT humor in this game, which there's a group that when you kind of go out into the wasteland, you'll find different communities that are from different towns, and so one of which is the Cathode Raiders, and they're out here and
so good.
They kind of like deify the sort of 80s tech and watch kind of empty screens all day waiting for the next transmission, but they're helpful. You can you can trade with them, and they have side quests that you can do sometimes. We
Nice.
have, help them turn on TVs and find remotes and that sort of thing.
Well, I'm hoping. So the first time you showed me the game before we started recording this, we were able to get a second mutation before we got to the end of the demo. So I'm hoping maybe we'll get to see a second one to show everybody on IGN here. Oh, that's a big guy.
Yeah, so see that that's kind of a quest creature. Early on, he sort of talked to one of those Cathode Raiders, and they said, "Hey, one of these guys ate my SCSI dongle," which is a strange thing to say. But if you find and take him out, you can just keep that. You can keep the SCSI dongle. I just want that mutant punished. So that's it's kind of hanging off the back of this what we call an ember snoot, a sort of fire mutant here.
Right. Nice.
Kevin takes him out. Then,
nice shot there.
There you go. So
Killing blow.
he's got a SCSI dongle, which helps him open chests. And he's just about to mutate. You can see the top there. We have this RAD meter, which says how rad he is. And your primary source of getting concentrated rads is from taking out muties, but there are other sort of corrupt foliage in the game that you can transform, and that helps mutate you as well.
With some of your younger players might not even get some of the early, like the late 80s, early 90s PC references in this game. I love them.
Yeah, there's a lot of hidden jokes, hopefully, for people to find. Not a lot of direct joke telling, just a lot of bad puns and hidden little stuff for fans.
Oh, I like that. See, in a lot of games like this, you're just sort of glued to the ground and you can't move from, island to island. I love that you can actually just jump around from place to place here.
Yeah, that's one of the things we really wanted to do was when we made a roguelike game, was not just to have it be room to room, but have a more open space. And part of that was making traversal and exploration a little more fun. And the jumping, we have this sort of single jump that's default, but you can get like high tops in the game that give you a double jump,
Nice.
or you can mutate and get wings, which you kind of flap around. And that not only speeds up your runs, but lets you get to places you can't always get to.
All right, so I think
He's so close to mutating, but he hasn't mutated yet.
95% of that second mutation.
You can see that whenever you open these gates at the end there, to go to the sort of boss encounter. You get a little guitar solo, and our guitars were actually all performed by Jordan Rudess.
Oh, cool.
So some
All right.
authentic guitar playing.
Maybe these minions can get that last mutation
I think
going.
he might be. If you can take one of them out, he might get a second mutation for the boss fight, which is pretty useful.
Ugh. Well, they're good about dodging those fireballs.
Yeah, the more evolved they are, the better they are about dodging. So.
I have faith in Kevin, who's manning the sticks right now. There we go.
So
All
now
right,
he's
second
mutating.
mutation. Plus, you got some currency there. Those
Oh,
cassette
this is a
tapes.
great one to get. So he got Withering, which if you pause the game, you can kind of look on his back. He gets these weird organ sacs. I mean, I won't say that this is your ability to fart in the game, but it basically is. So you can release these wither clouds that will slow down enemies, but they actually are also ignitable. And because he happens to have firearm,
Oh, nice.
he can basically ignite his own wither clouds, which in this case is very helpful.
How many? Since this demo is going to be over soon, as this boss goes down, roughly how many different mutations? Obviously, there's plenty of combinations, but how long is kind of the mutation list here?
It's pretty expansive. We do have, because the player can get up to 3 of these sort of external mutations at any one time, but they can all level up and branch as well.
Cool.
So, firearm could turn into something else as it levels up, still kind of fire-related. And then we have these internal mutations. You see that Kevin at the bottom there got a couple, and he's got he's got tapeworm and a fire resistance one. So those don't have any limit, and all told, as a player, you can you could get, as depending on how long you last, you could just get 1 or 2 mutations, but you might get well over a dozen on a run. So
very cool. All right, so before the demo ends, what platforms can we play this thing on, and when can we play it, Lee?
It's coming out summer of 2019, so not too long, and you'll be able to play it on PC, Steam, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch.
Everything. All right.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
See if
Do you
Kevin
have is there like an early access thing coming up?
We have a closed beta.
Closed beta, okay.
That people can sign up for. It's we're trying to kind of push it out to a little bit bigger of a community, a few months, get some more feedback, help us tune, kind of add a few extra features that people really want. So we'll be sending out sign-ups for that and announce a website where you can kind of jump in if you're interested.
Excellent. Great stuff as the final boss goes down.
He just got a heart upgrade. What you see in this case, he split one of his hearts from 2 to 3 pieces.
Oh, yeah.
So you can subdivide your heart in this game, of course.
Of course. Why
Yeah.
not? It's rad.
Yes.
There it is. Great.
Nice.
The game is rad. Lee Petty, thank you so much. Kevin, thanks for driving. And for more on all things rad and everything Double Fine is up to, because these guys are up to all kinds of great stuff. Watch Costume Quest on Amazon Prime, the cartoon, all kinds of great things. For all coverage on all of it, keep it tuned right here on IGN.